Tagadosh Boker Tov, we're continuing on Daf Nuna Amud Aleph, 58:1. So the Gemara says, Amar Rabba, Rabba says, My Tamad Rav, what's the reasoning of Rav that he says that you do not acquire shvita, you do not acquire your place underneath the tree at all? Mishum de lo mesayem atreh, because you did not place, meaning you didn't fix the place where you're going to be. So since you didn't fix the place where you're going to be underneath the tree, so that's why you don't acquire the place. Other people say, Amar Rabba, Rabba says, My Tamad Rav, what's the reasoning of Rav? Mishum de kasav, he says, Kol she'eno bezeh achar zeh, any din which is not chal after another din, right? Because basically the first din is me'akev, the second din. Afilu bevat achat eno chal. So even in one shot, it's not going to be chal. Which means like this. According to Rav, he was nitkaven to be konesh shvita in the entire area underneath the tree. So therefore, since if he would have received the shvita, right, in one side of the tree, right, shuv lo yachol osiv, he couldn't have done it on the other side of the tree, which means if he would have done it on one side, he couldn't have done it on the other side. So according to him, even when you're going to be kaven to do it in the entire area underneath the tree, the fact that you can't do both in one shot, so even right in one shot, it does not help. My benayu, what's the difference between the two different opinions? Benayu, the difference between them is, it says the difference between them is, if a person is going to come and say, Tikaneli shvita in 4 amot from the 8 amot. Manda amar mishum de lo mesayem atreh. According to the Manda Amar, that says that it's because he didn't finish, which means that he didn't put his fixed place. Halo mesayem atreh. He didn't put the fixed place. Manda Amar, but according to the Manda Amar that says kol sheno bezeh uvazeh afilu vatachat eno havi aikar ba'amot dami. Tehachar ba'amot kamar. Here it's 4 amot. Within 4 amot, it's always considered the same place. Meaning, even though it's going to be on 2 different sides of the tree, the fact that it's within 4 amot is always one place.
What are we trying to get here?
What we're trying to get is there were 2 different reasons in Rav. What is the reason why he says that if I put my shvita underneath the tree, it's not considered anything? So there are 2 different reasons. After we give the 2 different reasons, what's happening between 2 different reasons, and we just gave the answer. Okay? One reason was you didn't specify the place. The other reason why is because if you cannot acquire in 2 places in one shot, so therefore even one shot, it doesn't work. Meaning it has to be that I could do both in one shot. So you say, what's an nafkamina? Nafkamina is within 4 amot. Because within 4 amot, even though they're 2 different places, it's 4 amot, it's one place. However, though, if the first reason, which was that I didn't fix the place, it wasn't fixed. I wanted one here, one there. It's not fixed. Okay? Gufa amar Rabba, so to Rabba said, so anything which is not one after another, even one shot, it's not going to be chal. So 8 ways, so Abai comes and he asks Rabba, Hamarbe b'ma'aserot, pirotav metukanin u'maserot mekulkalim. So it says like this, if somebody is going to be marbe b'ma'aserot, which means you're going to separate masrot, right? So he says, pirotav metukanin u'maserotav mekulkalim. So therefore, the perot are metukan, and the maserot are mekulkal, which means the perot, the fruits which you are separating, right, are that they're not going to be anymore the yisur of tevel, they're going to be permitted in eating, okay, but the fruits which they are separating, right, the maaser is going to be prohibited in eating. So am I? Why? Leima, why don't you just say, Kol sheno bezeh achar zeh, since you cannot separate the maaser, a tenth of the maaser, the tenth of the fruits, kalacha, so therefore you can't separate anything else. And therefore, even when you do separate everything, it doesn't help. Because again, the general rule that we just brought down. So answers the Gemara, Shani maaser dita lechatzayin. Maaser is different because you could do half-half, which means I could take only half the maaser and it's chal. It's actually going to be good. So therefore, the fact that I could take off half and it's going to be good, so therefore, that's why Diamar tigdosh palga o palga dechita kacha. A person comes and he says half the wheat is going to be taken off. It's going to be good. So maaser, you cannot compare it to anything else. So says the Gemara, 1 second, there does exist a maaser, that doesn't exist. It doesn't help. Maaser bema. Maaser bema, you can't take off half the animal. Rabba says, if 2 people came out in one shot at the 10th, Ukrana Siri, and you called them the 10th, so then it's the 10th and 11th coming out. Remember, how is Maaser Be'ema done? You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the animals coming out one by one, okay, in a very narrow door. When it comes to the 10th one, you call it Maaser, and then you make a big X. What happens if the 10th one was the 10th and 11th came out both together? They both were able to squeeze through, and you called it the 10th, but they both came together. So he says, right, in such a case, Shane Maaser b'ma dita b'zeh achazeh b'ta'ut. So it's going to be a mistake. So he says, the Tanam, but we learned in a Mishnah, Kara l'tshii asiri v'l'asiri tshii u'l'achal aser asiri, shlosha mikudoshim. If you call the 9th one the 10th one the 9th, and the 11th one you call the 10th, all three of them are holy. The 9th one because you called it the 10th one because it is a 10th, even though you called it the 9th, and the 11th because you called it the 10th. So again, all three of them are going to be holy. So in such a case, right, the 9th one has to be yirat shistaev, which means you have to make a graze until it gets a mum, and then you eat it with its mum. The 10th one is asiri kodesh, and the 11th one is going to be brought as a shlamim. So the question is, if you're going to tell me then that sometimes they could become holy one after another, right? So you see that all of them could be in one shot. So vare toda, right? A third question on the general rule that we just said. Vare toda, korban toda, deleta betaut. It doesn't exist in a taut. Meaning if you went and you made a mistake and you said that these 40 loaves are considered, right, toda, that's nothing. Right? It's not kadosh. Veleta bezeh chazen, doesn't exist one after another. The Itman who stated, toda shenishchata al 80 chalot. You have a korban toda that was slaughtered on 80 breads. Chizkiah says, kachu ala 40 mitoch 80, only 40 are going to become holy out of the 80. Rabbi Yochanan says, look at you, not even the 40 are going to become holy. So it comes out that according to Chizkiah, which that's the rabbi of Rabbi Yochanan, okay, therefore the halacha should be like him, that goes against Rabbah. Because if it's going to be like Rabbah, nothing should be chal. Nothing should become holy. Yeah? One more time, we're talking about a general rule. The general rule is that any single time that you have, right, that it cannot be chal at the same time, it should not become holy at all. That's the question that we're asking. So we start bombarding 3 different questions. It's not true. Whether it's going to be because of the Todah, whether it's going to become because of this. So therefore, if we paskin halacha like Rabbi Yochanan, that's what it's saying, Chizkiah, and Chizkiah is coming and saying kachu ala, right, that basically it does become holy. What does it become holy? Nothing should become holy. But since it cannot become holy, and according to everybody in one shot, the 80 loaves cannot become a Todah. So that's it, nothing should chal. So answers the Gemara, Ha'itmar Allah was stated, Amar Rabbi Zera, says Rabbi Zera, Hakol ya mudim. Everybody agrees that when you're going to be Mikadesh 40 out of the 80, they're going to become holy. Right? If it's not going to be 40 out of the 80, nobody agrees that it's not going to become holy. When is the machloket? Bestama, in stam. More savar lachrayut kamichaven, more holds that it's going to be with an achrayut, and therefore you're bringing it with a t'nai, with a condition. That if it's going to become tameh or something like that, so for only the 40, the other 40 are going to have it. And therefore, the Yikat Kavanah was only 40. The extra 40 that you brought was just like a, how do you call it? Like a safeguard. Just in case something happens. The first 40, you have another 40. But not that the Kavanah was for the beginning, you're bringing 80. Because everyone knows you don't bring 80. Okay? Daf Nuna Mubet, 50b. Okay? Umor Savar, Rabbi Yochanan holds, le korban gadol kamechaben. No, that your Kavanah was to bring a very big korban. And therefore, according to him, that's why he says nothing becomes holy. Because he does hold of that rule of Rabbah that we just said before, that if you cannot make everything holy in one shot, nothing becomes holy. Amar Abaye, Abaye says, Lo shanu, what are we dealing with? Ela bilan tachtav 12 amah. We're talking about an ilan, a tree, that underneath the entire shetach, you have 12 amot. Aval bilan shen tachtav 12, but if you don't have 12 amot, hade miktzat beto nikar. So therefore, since you don't have 3 different places of 4 amot, so therefore, there is a shvita of 4 amot, which is recognizable, and therefore, it's going to be good. Yeah, it is going to be good. That means if I wanted to do under this tree, it doesn't have 12 amot around the entire thing, it's going to be okay. So, matkif la Ravuna ber Yeshua, asked Ravuna ben Yeshua, mimai devar arba'i metziat HaKosem, whoever told you I wanted the 4 amot in the middle? There's, again, maybe in the 4 amot on each side. Because again, if it's going to be until 12 amot, I still have 4, 4, and 4. 4 groups of 3. So who told you wanted the 3 amot in the middle? So Elam Ravuna ben Yeshua says Ravuna ben Yeshua lo shanu ela bilan shetachtav 8 amot. We're talking about an ilan which underneath it you have 8 amot. Aval bilan shetachtav 7 amot. But if you have an ilan which underneath it is 7 amot, hare miktzat beton nikar, it is going to be recognizable, because if you have 7, 3 is not enough for anything. So for sure you have 4 amot which is recognizable, and therefore you're right. It's not going to be for the 12. It's going to be of 7, because in 7 you only have 1 group of 4. So that group of 4, that's where you want it. We learned to write according to Rav, we learned to write according to Shmuel. We learned according to Rav, one of you were traveling on the way and it became dark, and you already know about a certain gate or a certain ilan, and you said that I want to dwell underneath. You didn't say anything. But if you say if I say I want it in a certain place under the tree, right? It says you could go until there, and then you could go from there until you're wherever you want for the 2,000 amot. Right? So when one of these words become only in a designated place. Okay, going for example, in a place which is going to be 10 tvachim tall, which is going to be for 4 amot until betzatayim. Or we're talking about a valley which is 10 tvachim deep. Again, it's going to be 4 amot until betzatayim. So but if it's going to be in a place which is not designated, he only has 4 amot. So ayushnaim, if there are going to be 2 different people going on the way, one of them knows where the tree is and one of them doesn't know. The one that doesn't know, he gives his shita to the one that does know. And he just says it. So imagine I'm walking with John Jack, and I didn't know very well Bay Harbor Islands, but John Jack knows that there's a tree over there. So John Jack's going to say, I'm going to give it to mine to John Jack. John Jack's going to say, 1 second, you know what? I'm going to do it right there under that tree. And now it's going to be okay. But since I give it to John Jack, and John Jack does know where that tree was, that place, so then it's going to be okay. But when one of these words, when he actually fixed the 4 amot. But if he didn't fix the 4 amot, you're not allowed to walk where you're going. Layman you have to do. So this is a proof against Shmuel, because according to Shmuel, even if you are going to be Kovea Makom Shvitato, which is not Nusiyam in Abamot, still, right, Abamot, right, he is Kovea. So Shmuel's going to answer you. He says only if you have 2,004 amot. If you're going to put it on the other side of the tree, it's on the other side of the tchum. However, though but if it is within 4 amot, Matziaz, you're allowed to go. But if not, then you're not allowed to go. So Tani Kavatet is Shmuel. Now we're going to try to bring a proof according to Shmuel against Rav. And it says, what happens if you made a mistake and you made an eruv to 2 different sides? So he thought that you're allowed to do that. When did he told the servants, go make an eruv for me? One of them did it in the north, one of them did it in the west, in the south. Yeah? So therefore, he minimizes it, which means he could only go to the north according to what he did in the south. He could only go to the south according to what he did in the north. Right? But he says, and if, right, he put it in the end of the 2,000 amot, he's not allowed to move anywhere. So this is against Rav. Right? Why? Because according to this, it comes out according to Rav, since he wasn't mevarer makom shvitato, right, he's not going to shvita at all. So he shouldn't be able to move at all. So answers the Gemara, Rav Tana upalig. Rav is like a Tana, and therefore he's allowed to argue. And he's arguing on this Braita. So it's not a proof against Rav, because Rav is allowed to argue. Amar, then we said in the 2 dots, so he said, what happens if I say that my shvita is going to be in the ikat of the tree, in the roots of the tree? So therefore I'm allowed to go the 2,000 amot until the tree, and then from the tree another 2,000 amot, right, forwards. So therefore I'm allowed to travel 4,000 amot. Okay? And then Rava comes and he says, he could actually get there and so on and so forth. That will continue Bezrat Hashem on the day of Simchat Kohen, on Tuesday, Bezrat Hashem, the day after Kippur.